Welcome to the Ordinary Marathoner podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Ordinary Marathoner podcast. My name is Coach Scott. I'll be your host today. I got a great show for you guys today. I got a great guest. I'm going to bring her on in a minute. As always, you'll find this and the back episodes of our podcast at our website, ordinarymarathoner.com. Check that out if you get a chance. You can also find them at the aggregators, places like Stitcher, TuneIn, iTunes, Google Podcasts, that kind of thing. We're out there if you just look for us. You can also check out our YouTube channel now, Ordinary Marathoner, obviously what it's called. But head on over there, hit that subscribe button. We like to put at least all of our podcasts out on the video as well for you guys, just as another avenue for you guys to get the podcast if you so choose. Ordinary Marathon, our virtual race, our 10-day virtual race taking place in May. That one will not be canceled. So, all you guys out there worried about your race getting canceled, ours will not be. It's a virtual race. You can run outside if you can get outside. You can run on the treadmill. We've seen people doing marathons in their backyard these days. So, you can still get out and run and be part of a group, although it'll be through social media and online. But something's better than nothing, folks. And we're not going to be canceling. It's a good cause, for the SAM Fund, raising money for the SAM Fund. And go ahead and over to ordinarymarathon.com and register for our race. Use the coupon code ordinary for $5 off. What else we got? I think that's about it. Let's just get to our guest for today. She's from Tulsa, Oklahoma. I believe 3 times a marathoner. Looking to branch out from that as well in the world of triathlon. Headed towards her first half Ironman. She's got the greatest coach in the biz. Erin Shepherd, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me on.
I'm really looking forward to this. Of course, your coach is me. And I just had to mention that.
Ever. I promised Steph I wasn't going to let her down with that, right? Like best coach ever.
Best coach ever. There you go. See, she's not. I gave you a good discount on this month for that, just for saying that. Anyway, what made I want to start kind of just a little bit of background with you. We don't really have an agenda for the podcast today. We just want to kind of have a conversation and talk about a few things and how you got into endurance sports and what it's like for you and how training is like for you, especially in the current circumstances. So why don't we start with 3 times a marathoner.
Yeah.
And how did that happen? Like, this is recent too. It's like you don't have necessarily a track background. You haven't been running all your life. It's just out of nowhere you decided to run a marathon. How did that happen?
I am definitely not an athletic person at all. I did not grow up being athletic. I did not participate in any sports when I was a child. That was completely out of the realm for me. I actually, when I was 12, I had kidney disease, and they ended up having to remove my left kidney. And because of that, I was pretty insulated. I couldn't do contact sports. I wasn't a runner. I didn't really do anything as a child. And that kind of grew into my adulthood years too. I just was never active. Now, because I'm only 4'11", I was always naturally really small. And then, as women do, we have kids, and then our metabolism dead stops on us. And I was just starting to try to find a way to exercise, something that I would actually stick with. I did CrossFit for a little while. I would go to gyms. I would try to get into different training things. And I found running. I actually found running because my daughter joined the cross country team. So I would go out on summer workouts with her. And I just found that I liked it and decided to stick with it. I never intended to do marathons. I was that person that would run a weekend 5K on a Saturday and then reward myself with the biggest burger I could find and then just lay around the rest of the weekend. I never intended to do anything more than a 5K. And then my daughter's coach convinced me to try a half. And I did my first half marathon in November of 2016. And I was hooked. I was absolutely hooked on distance running. I was like, no, I can do better than that. No, I can do better than that. And that's kind of just where it all started with me. I did several halves, and I still said, I'm not doing the marathon. I'm not doing the marathon. Then I did my first marathon in April of 2018. And then I also got into New York City for November of 2018. So yeah, so that's kind of how my marathon history went about.
Just been rolling. So you mentioned New York. So what was the first marathon you did? The one in April of 2018.
April of 2018 was the Garmin Marathon in right outside of Kansas City.
Gotcha. And so was there anything that drew you to that one in particular, or just you wanted to run a marathon and that was kind of the convenient one at the time?
It was, yeah, that's exactly what it was. I was training with a group of friends and a group of half marathon friends, and they all convinced me that I had to do one just to have one marathon under my belt. And timing wise, date wise, what worked out best for our schedule ended up being the Garmin Marathon. Did not realize it was one of the hardest marathons.
I didn't know that either. Was it?
Marathons.
Yeah, nice.
Did
you realize that on race day, or did you realize that?
They told me like beforehand, it's a hilly marathon. It's a difficult marathon. All the hills are on the backside. I'm like, it's fine. Tulsa is very, very hilly.
Yeah.
For people that don't know. So I was like, well, it's fine. It's going to be fine. It was not fine. You get to mile 16 and I looked at this hill and I just stopped. I just dead stopped at mile 16 and just looked at this hill and was like, okay, well, this is where we're going.
There you go. We got to go up. No other way. No other way. So all right. So, I mean, how did you then pick New York as sort of did you just try to get in the lottery and that worked out for you? Or was it something like you just wanted to run it? I mean, New York is kind of an iconic one. Obviously, there's other ones that are iconic as well. But what made you choose New York after Garmin Marathon?
I originally put my name in the hat for Chicago. I actually wanted Chicago. I had several friends that were going there. It's only a 10-hour drive from here, so it would have been nice and simple. Chicago was the one I wanted. So both me and my husband, Jacob, we actually put our names in for it. Neither of us got drawn. So on a whim, actually that very day when the Chicago lottery came out and I wasn't selected, I put my name in for New York.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? It's the first time I've even put my name in for a major. I'm not going to get selected. And I didn't even think about it. I just put my name in and I just whatevered it for several months. And then February hit and I was like, oh, that's right.
Where did that $250 go from my bank account? They just take it from you.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
That's funny. I tell you, but I know because I've asked you this before. We've talked about it before. New York, the experience for me, is just second to none. It's just, it's wall to wall people and the occasional spots like the bridges and stuff where there's nobody, but, it's such an amazing experience. Was it the same for you?
It was absolutely incredible. I mean, from start to finish, it is absolutely an amazing experience. You honestly don't really realize you're running a marathon. And I mean, you do, but you don't, those that have run marathons before kind of get what I'm saying. The fatigue is still there. The pain is still there. The nutrition, all of that is still there. But there's just so much to see. And there's just so many distractions around you, and there's just people hollering your name, and there's other runners, and the other runners are incredibly inspiring and interesting. I mean, I can't tell you how many people I ran by that had like, today is my 40th birthday, or this is my first marathon, and there's always someone to chat with. If you're not shoulder to shoulder, but the roads are full, and there's plenty of people to keep you distracted, to talk to. And I mean, that's just the people, not to mention the music that's out there.
There's like 20 bands. It's like every mile there's a new band and they're playing, different stuff. It's just an incredible experience. And would you say that was that your favorite one out of all three, or?
Oh, hands down.
Yeah.
Hands down my favorite marathon. It was, and it's funny because like I said, I did Garmin the same year.
Yep.
Garmin is an incredibly tiny marathon. There was only 250 marathoners.
Wow. So it's like, I mean, there's no crowd, there's no people, there's no people to cheer you on, basically.
There's no crowd support. The only support you have out there is the aid stations,
right.
The water stations. There's no crowd support. There's no spectators. There's nothing like that at Garmin. And like I said, there's only 250 marathoners. So you're incredibly strung out. Your fast runners, they're gone. They're gone. I'm a back of the packer. I'm over here, clocking a 5:55 marathon. I'm running by myself.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
So you learn to really like the run. At that point, you have to enjoy what you're doing. New York, on the other hand, even if you don't necessarily enjoy the distance, there is enough to distract you from the distance, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. You kind of can, it's almost like an out-of-body experience. You can kind of deviate. You have a task at hand, but there's so much to see and so much to experience that it's almost like if you just focus on the run and tune everything out, then you're missing out on part of the fun. And it's kind of different. But, so let me ask you this. So for me, my first marathon was New York, and I crossed the finish line that day. And that day, I'll just never, ever forget the feeling of crossing the finish line in New York, finishing my first marathon. It was just such an amazing feeling. So for you, when you look back on it, do you look back on that Garmin marathon as your moment when you've crossed the finish line for your first marathon? Or do you feel, or is it more like when you have that moment, do you think about New York more or Garmin more in terms of, I just think of it was, I mean, for me, both were the same, and it was such a party in New York. And then when I crossed that finish line, like that's my moment. I can almost close my eyes and put myself right on that last stretch, when you're running through the flags towards the finish line. And that was my first marathon, and knowing that people out there were cheering me on, and some people didn't think I could do it, and some people weren't cheering me, whatever. But I can mentally put myself in that moment. So what's it like for you? Do you, which one do you covet more?
I think that when I think about running, when I think about that marathon finish, that, like you said, that one where you can put yourself back on that final stretch, it's definitely New York. That is where I also clocked a PR. I mean, people don't go to New York to PR. Okay. But I took a 10-minute PR over Garmin. So I think that when I think about the marathon and that distance and that run, it's New York. But when I think about my first marathon, I do go back to Garmin because that was my first. That gave me that introduction to the distance and conquering something that I've always wanted to do. For anybody that follows me on Instagram, that's where I do all of my running and triathlon stuff. I use a hashtag for whatever distance I'm doing. So my hashtag for marathon was hashtag chasing 26.2. And when I did Garmin, my first Instagram post, my first Facebook post was, I caught it. I chased it and I caught it. And so for me, that's kind of a big pivotal moment. Yeah.
It's amazing. And especially and I feel like you had the same thing. Same sort of feeling that I had is, I hit 35, 40 years old or whatever it was. And there's just no way in my mind that I would ever accomplish something like that. And when I think back to, before I started running and even when I started running, I was like, all right, maybe I'll do a 5K. And then I got up to 5 and maybe I'll do a 10, but there, even a half marathon seemed like something I would never, ever do. And then here we are standing at the finish line and really one of the more iconic races in the world, endurance races in the world. But since you finished that marathon, you've done 3 now. You've sort of changed up a little bit. I mean, I don't think marathons for you are like out of the question. You'd still probably entertain the idea of doing them. But you've sort of turned a little bit towards triathlon. And what made that decision for you? How did you make the switch? I mean, I know how I did it, but how did you go ahead and make the switch from what made you want to kind of get into, add 2 more disciplines, other than running, to your repertoire there?
So there's 2 things that kind of went into that for me. The first one, which is kind of more the logical one, is I was just starting to really burn out. Marathon running, the race itself isn't going to kill you, but the training will burn you out if you train hard. And I just had kind of small niggling injuries, little things like that. And I was just wanting a different way to do something without quitting distance running altogether. But I needed to change something or I was just going to burn out and flat quit. So that's the main reason. the second reason is almost kind of a joke. I have this really terrible habit of climbing a hill, and I look at that hill and I go, yes, okay, cool, I did it. You see that bigger hill right there? I want that hill. Okay, then I've got on that one. Okay, now I want that bigger hill.
So when you started triathlon, does that mean that you did you always have your eye on something Ironman related or distance related? Because you've done a couple shorter ones. So
I've done several sprints. I've done sprint tries. I haven't done an official Olympic distance try yet. When I started out, no, I didn't. Not really. I didn't really have the idea of Ironman, anything in my head. I just wanted to make sure maybe I could do this without, drowning or, that sort of thing. But then as I started getting involved with my local tri club and I started getting into all three disciplines, that love of endurance came back. I love distance running. I will never be a sprinter. I'm never going to be fast. I'm never going to clock, 35 miles an hour on my bike, even on a downhill. It's just not going to happen for me. But
that's okay. That's a different. I mean, that's so a lot of people are frightened of the speed on the downhill. You're not alone there. But go ahead. But
I like the distance. I like seeing how long I can go. How long can I stand this?
Yeah, and it's always, I mean, I'm with you there, and I think eventually, you reach a point where it's like, all right, you just run out of time in your life, like like for me, I hit that Ironman distance, and it's like, all right, well, what can I do next? Yeah, you look for that bigger hill to climb, and I'm like, wait, 100, what do you do, like 100-mile race? Like I don't know, I don't have that kind of time. I mean, I don't have any more time to go, but I admire. I admire the way that you look at things and that you just go for it. Like last year you signed up for Ironman Des Moines 70.3, which is going to take place, we hope, in June. And you just started training, just started going after it. And so let me ask you this: like, why Des Moines? Why, what was what was that the distance that you were just kind of eyeing up? Like you just felt like 70, you mentioned you didn't do an Olympic. I know, we've had some races on the schedule in the, that have all been erased, which was, we had a nice little stepping stone there for you, and there's certain things going on, and now they're erased. But ultimately the goal is the 70.3 for now, and then perhaps bigger and better things after. So what made you choose Des Moines? How did you, how did you come up with that goal?
So as far as the distance, 70.3, I just wanted, like you said, kind of a stepping stone. I didn't want to throw myself at, the big one, like some people over here.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I felt like I needed to have that logical stepping stone for me, just to make sure I could do it mostly safely. Because as I mentioned before, I had kidney disease, and having only one kidney changes how you have to train. It does change with the intensity that you train. It changes your nutrition habits, making sure you're hydrated, under doctor care, that sort of thing. And I'm also severely hard of hearing. I wear hearing aids. And obviously I can't wear them on the swim. And let's say that the weather is terrible on a tri, I'm not going to be able to wear them on the bike or the run. I have run races with no sound. I have my most recent 5K, it was pouring rain, and I could not wear my hearing aids. So I hear nothing many times during races. So for me, having that stepping stone in distance for the 70.3 made the most sense. Secondly, why Des Moines? I am Iowan by birth. I live in Oklahoma now, but I'm originally from Iowa. My whole family is still there. And it was kind of a race between Tulsa and Des Moines, who was going to get the full Ironman this year.
Right.
And when Tulsa got the full, Des Moines got the 70.3. Yep. And so I thought it would be kind of cool to do the 70.3 at home in Iowa. And then
then maybe. Yeah, I hear you.
And Tulsa.
So now Tulsa sold out this year, I think, right? Pretty quickly. And now, of course, I think Tulsa was canceled this year, right? Is that postponed? Okay, so it's still okay. So I think my fear was that they were going to just move everyone from this year's race to next year's race, and then it would be hard for you to get in if that's the case. But maybe, I mean, I know you have ways. You have tri clubs and stuff like that, but you have ways. But we'll deal with that when we get there. We have other obstacles in the way at the time. So for you, when it comes to training and obviously what is the most glaring difference for you when it comes to the difference between training for a 70.3 and training for a marathon? You mentioned that marathon training was kind of like running you down and burning you out a little bit. So what's the big difference for you when it comes to that change?
I think for me, it's the fact that I get to do something different every day. The way that you and I have our schedule set up is that I'm not doing the same thing every single day. Yeah, I'm still running 3 or 4 days a week, but they're not consecutive. The distances are different. The intensity is different. So it changes things up for me. Being able to bike and learn better confidence on the bike and being able to swim. Well, obviously not right now. Nobody is swimming, but in general.
Yeah, no, I hear you. And it's good. And we do get a good, I think we get a full rotation there of things. And even, I got to tell you, even my marathon athletes that I coach, I don't like them running more than 4 times a week either. Although you would think that would not, I've just always found that running that much, just pounding into your legs. And I think especially, I also feel as a coach, I feel like there's a disconnect between athletes who are like someone who's run all their life, track and field background, all that stuff, and someone like people like us who have just kind of picked it up later in life or consider ourselves more of an amateur. I feel like a lot of coaches will they sort of peg everyone towards that sort of professional sort of regimen. When I think people like us, we kind of need a little more focus, a little more attention, a little more detail as to why you're doing what you're doing and stuff like that. Which is why I think we have a really good schedule. We put together a good schedule every week. You do get that nice rotation of thing. Again, that swim. You also have challenges though with the bike. You mentioned the hearing impairment. And I think most people would probably know. I mean, I kind of have to be reminded sometimes, but like hearing has a definitive connection with balance. And when you think about bike and balance, I think if you've been riding a bike all your life and you haven't really thought about how you balance, it's just kind of second nature. And maybe, who knows, depending on your experience level, you can go grab that water bottle, you can drink, you can do whatever. You can look behind you, looking over your shoulder to see if someone's there. That is a skill that needs to be learned. And when you're hard of hearing and you have issues with the balance, that comes into play too. We haven't really been able to get outside too much on the bike. And now, parks are getting closed and stuff like that. But, have you found that to be one of your challenges as well in terms of being? It seems like outdoor swimming, outdoor biking is kind of the things that right now are your most challenging things that you're facing.
Absolutely. The bike is honestly such a weak discipline for me. It is an honest struggle, and it's something I really want to conquer. But the balance issue is. It is tough. And to add one more layer to that, I have a cataract on my left eye.
I don't think you told me about that one.
See. Yeah. So I don't see out of my left eye. So when I'm riding on the right side, and people who are in triathlon and cycling know you pass on the left, okay? I can't see on my left. So somebody coming up, and I'm hard of hearing, so somebody coming up and flying by me on my left is something that is a source of anxiety for me. So that translates into increased balance issues when you have that sort of anxiety. So for me, it's a matter of learning that confidence, learning that safety, and learning how to navigate those blocks so that I can cycle safely and cycle well. One of the things that we talk about in my tri club when we're talking to beginners is confidence is safety and safety is confidence. So the more confident I can get, the safer I can get, the more confident I can get.
Yeah, and we've been working on that too. It's just it's been hard, I think, to get outside on the bike as much as we'd like, but I agree. It's just, the more experience you get, the more rides you're able to do outside. I think that you will get a little bit better at it, a little bit more feel for it. There's exercises we can do to work on some of that stuff. And I think, hopefully by race day, you're confident enough. I mean, one good thing about the Ironman races versus the local sort of sprint tries and stuff like that is the rules state that you're not really supposed to draft. You do see it sometimes, but it should give you a little more sense of not complete comfort, because you never know what people are going to do out there, but a little more comfort knowing that the people behind you should be far back, because that's the rules, and anyone passing you should be giving you enough room as they pass on the left. And it's you are going to be you're going to have other challenges with the balance issues and with the sight issues. But I think the more experience you get, the better you'll get. By the way, you're crushing Zwift. Absolutely crushing. You started, we started riding together, I think, was it late December or early January?
Yeah, like early.
And I remember, I think Zwift did a little event, and we were doing it. So it was like we were in a crowd, and so I could like look at the map and I could see Erin's little icon a little bit behind me. And as she would get closer, I'd be like, oh, I can't let my athlete pass me. So, so we were like, it was great. It's like we're 1,000 miles away, but we're pushing each other to do better. And it's really it's kind of like a neat thing for Zwift as a coach that I get to ride with you, even though yes. We don't live anywhere near each other, but we get to ride together in a virtual world, which is I think it's great. It's excellent. So that race, I did wind up beating you, but then we did another race probably a week or two ago through a Zwift event, and you just destroyed me. It was just, I had nothing. I tried my best to keep up, and we started going downhill. I'm like, all right, now I'm going to catch her on the downhill. Because typically I think that the way it works is, because I'm like 230 pounds, and going up those hills, I really struggle. And I was like, all right, I'm going to get her on the downhill, but you were gone. You were just gone. So I think you have a lot to be proud of, though. I think you've come a long way. We're due for an FTP test, by the way, soon.
We are.
And, but this is a recovery week. I don't want you doing that. Gonna hold you back. That's the thing with Erin too, is Erin just wants to train. You want to get out there and be busy. So it's like sometimes, even this morning, I'm like, all right, we're going to be in zone 2. I want you to be like 115, 125 watts. And then like 10 minutes later, I'm like, how many watts are you? 130. I'm like, okay. All right. All right. We'll let her go on that one. It's only 5 watts, but you're doing really great. I think you're
fine.
But no, I think you should be proud of yourself. You've stuck with it. I don't know that you've actually, maybe you've missed one workout. I don't even think you have. So, you make it easy for a coach when you can just throw stuff out there, and I don't have to worry about you actually doing it. I know you're going to do it. If I worry about anything, it's that you're going to do more than I tell you to do. And, I know,
like earlier this week, when I say 3 to 5 miles, I mean 3 to 5 miles.
Well, the thing is, so, all right, some of my other athletes are the same, is that if I put 3 to 5 miles and we had this, I think your long run, once I said do 9 to 10, and you're like, I'm going to do 10. I'm like, yeah. Well, that's why I do that. I know you're going to do 10, but you're going to feel good about yourself. And that's why, but then this week, because it's a recovery week and we were doing 3 to 5 miles, it's really just supposed to be about, just feeling comfortable in the run and not pressing yourself or getting injured or pushing yourself too hard. Which is why I had to make sure I let you know, like 3 is acceptable. 3 to 5 doesn't mean 5. It means 3 to 5. In this case, not always, but in this case. But I think, I don't know, from my perspective, I think you're doing great. I would obviously, the issues with coronavirus and everything going on, it's challenging. The pool, you haven't been in the pool. It's like, I'm wondering if like there's any like local hotels that have a pool that might still be open. I doubt it.
I would doubt it right now.
I think everything's got to be closed. It's just, but it's frustrating. And especially, you mentioned swimming as one of your potential weaknesses. You were really doing well in the pool. I think you're really getting more comfortable there. Obviously not the same as open water swim. And we have plans to kind of get that in, and who, again, parks are getting closed. So who knows if lakes are going to be open, as it starts to get warmer, but it's getting warmer. So if the opportunity arises, we should definitely be doing that if we can. That is better than nothing. I've been doing a lot of resistance band work. I don't know if those are what I see hanging in the background of your Skype here.
Yep. That is resistance band area.
And,
swim poles all day.
And so your race is June, and we've been talking about it, and it's like one of those things where we don't know if it's going to happen or if it's not going to happen. But and I've been preaching this to you and to everyone else that I know who's asked me the question. It's one of those things where, what's worse? Do you just say, all right, this is going to get canceled, and then you slow down your training, or you stop your training, or you change your training, and then the race doesn't get canceled and you're not ready? Or do you train as hard as you can and you're ready to race, and the week before the race they cancel it? What's worse? And I think obviously when you think about it that way, you got to still go after it. And I think that's where your head is at. And I think that's good.
I think that, I think the one thing has gotten really lost in this, and I've seen this a lot, because when the Ironman Tulsa postponement came out, there was a lot of angry people. And I'm not telling people that they shouldn't feel their feelings. You need to, if you need to feel disappointment, feel disappointment. If you need to feel anger. But it all, for me, goes back to, why are you doing this in the first place? Are you doing it just so you can say, oh, I ran Ironman Tulsa? Or are you doing it for your own benefit? Are you doing it for your health? Are you doing it for your kids? Are you doing it for any myriad of reasons? For me, it goes back to my why. So let's say that June 21st doesn't happen, that the 70.3 doesn't happen. I'm going to continue to train, because one of two things is going to happen. Okay. I'm going to be ready as all get out for race day, or I'm going to come out of this fit as hell, even if I'm not racing.
Yep. That's a good outlook. That's a perfect outlook. It's a great, and an excellent way to put it as well. Is that, you're not going to get a medal, but what's a medal? You're not going to get a t-shirt. What's a you miss out on that little feeling of conquering that obstacle that you set in mind that you wanted to conquer. But, it's not like it's the end of the world. It's not like they're never going to have another Ironman 70.3 again. It's not like, they're not going to give refunds. I hope. But we'll get back out there. We'll just, you seek out the next goal, and then you go for it. Social media is crushing me lately. It's hurting my soul to watch people. And you're right. They get angry. They get vicious at one another. For me, it's what's bothering me is we're not doing enough, and you need, I love seeing videos of people. This is totally off track. I love seeing videos of people outside yelling at people to get inside. It's like, wait, but you're out here too.
You're outside.
As a matter of fact, you're in my face. So please, 6 feet. It's just crazy. But we all kind of just, whatever happened to mind your own business? I think that, mind your own business. Come on. That's it. But,
Exactly.
I don't know. I'm off the topic here, but I think you're doing awesome. I think, you've selected some pretty challenging goals for yourself, and, the swimming, I think you were pretty close, and I think that you can do that. I think that, obviously, I always felt for me that the bike was something that snuck up on me. And I think you've improved immensely on the bike. Obviously, you want to have that experience outdoors, and we hope we can kind of get a little bit more of that as we approach race day. And then the run, I mean, you're old hat at the run, especially at a half marathon. You've done 3 marathons, and you know what? I feel like you're probably in better shape now, or you would feel like you're in better overall shape than you were running those marathons. At least you'd be close. And when you think about the shape that you're in now and the work that you've done now, if the race doesn't happen, I'd give you the medal. I think you could do it. And I think even, obviously we still have 2 months to go, to train. With those extra 2 months, I think, I wish we could have done it the way that we wanted to do it. unfortunately, that's not the world that we live in right now. Hopefully they'll still have their race, but if they don't, then we'll just move on to the next one.
Exactly. There's nothing else we can do. I mean, at this stage, and like I said, when race day comes, and race day is going to come, I think that's one thing everybody needs to keep in mind. This isn't going to be forever. Race day will eventually come.
Yeah, we'll get it back.
And we're going to be ready for it.
I hope so. Well, we will be ready for it. I hope race day comes back for sure. Yeah, it's one of, I still get people like uploading their schedules on our Team Ordinary site and putting new races on there for later in the year. So I think everyone's kind of just like, they're optimistic that things will return to normal. I mean, you look at Boston Marathon, they went from an April date out to September. And at one point, at what point do we start getting worried about September races, I think already you're probably worried about September races. I have a race in mid-July and I'm concerned about 70.3 that I'm concerned about. And, I have the same outlook as you. Be ready for it. And if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. But, keep training hard. Keep working at it. I think, you have a good support system over there. Your family seems to really back you and support you in what you do, which is absolutely necessary in the sport. And I know you're going to have a big contingency up in Iowa, right?
That's the plan. gonna end up more like a Griswold family race type of situation, but we'll see.
Right. Well, who knows? Who knows if we'll be able to cross state boundaries at that point? But I don't know. I think you're on a great path, and hopefully we just continue on, and hopefully we race this race. I think when you think about it, it'll almost be like a really cool story to tell if they do the race, and hey, I haven't swam in a pool in 3 months, but I'm going to do my first half Ironman. It would be a good story. It would be a good story for you. I think it would be a good experience in that way. So, wish you the best of luck. I'll be talking to you later today, I'm sure, or tomorrow. But
most likely.
yeah. What's your Instagram page? Let's get that out there for people so that they know where to go.
Sure. You can follow me on Instagram at Erin.accidentalathlete.
Erin at accident. Erin at accident.
Erin.accidentalathlete.
Okay. Accident. Gotcha.
So just my first name, dot, and then accidental athlete.
Got it. All right, cool. We'll make sure that everyone gets out there and follows you up on Instagram. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Hey, you've never been on a podcast before, have you?
No, this is
all right.
It's like my first experience, my first time. It's awesome.
That's awesome. And I'll be talking to you soon, and we'll call it a day for now. Thank you, Erin Shepherd, for coming on the podcast. We'll be back again with you later in the week, guys. And I think that's all I got for you now. I think next week we're going to try to get Patrick Carey. He's a bike coach. He's going to teach me some stuff about the bike, and we'll get him on the podcast soon too. And remember, every day is an ordinary day unless you make it extraordinary. So get after it, guys.